Everyone is muted. There is a question box when you logged into GoToMeeting, so if anyone has questions throughout the program, feel free to type them in there. They will come to myself and Jim, and we will cover them either in real time, so feel free to ask questions as we're going along, or we may save some of them for the end depending on the question where we are in the webinar. We anticipate this taking maybe 30 to 40 minutes tops, and I'm going to hand it over to Jim Fish and let him get this started.
Thanks, Stuart. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Again, my name is Jim Fish. I'm the president of the National Association of Professional Allstate Agents, also known as NAPAA. And of course, joining me today is Stuart, who you've heard from briefly, and he's from EverQuote, and Nancy Fish, NAPAA's executive director. Today's webinar is titled Capture, Convert, and Retain More Clients. This webinar is a part of an ongoing series that's normally reserved for NAPAA members, but today we have invited a select group of non-member agents to join us so they can sample one of the benefits of NAPAA membership. And from the looks of it, we have a substantial audience today. Before we get started, I would like to provide our guests with some background information about NAPAA so everyone has a better understanding of who we are and what we do. The first thing you should know is that NAPAA is not affiliated with Allstate. It is an independent trade association and not a union. Most of our operations are funded by our members and contributors, but our publications are primarily funded by advertising dollars. This independence from corporate constraints has allowed NAPAA leadership to speak freely on behalf of the agency force for more than 25 years. NAPAA is the only organization that is totally dedicated to advancing your interests. Some would have you believe that we are anti-company, which is the furthest thing from the truth. Instead, we are pro-agent and your strongest advocate and ally. Communicate, educate, and advocate. These are the foundational pillars that guide almost everything we do at NAPAA. Today's webinar falls under the educational pillar. The communication pillar includes all of our publications and website, and our advocacy pillar includes promoting and defending issues of great concern to our members. Our directors are unpaid and are all former Allstate agents who hold great regard for the Allstate brand. We also have an executive director who oversees NAPAA affairs as well as its management company, which is responsible for day-to-day operations. The executive director is Nancy Fish. The next slide, Stuart, if you want to flip that slide over, is going to outline some of the benefits that we offer to NAPAA members. They're pretty easy to understand, so I won't cover each one of them, but there are a few that merit some additional comments. The first is member-to-member referrals. This is a great benefit. Members can have NAPAA headquarters refer their transfer outs to members near the area where their customer is relocating. And if you do the math, receiving just one transfer in a year from your NAPAA membership could pay for it. The next one is the buying and selling of an agency. There are many complexities involved when you're buying or selling an agency. Our executive director, Nancy Fish, is extremely knowledgeable in this area. She has helped hundreds of Allstate agents navigate the buying and selling process, but fair warning, her expertise is limited to NAPAA members only. Quite frankly, this particular benefit alone is worth the price of membership. Jumping down to reimbursements and discounts, E&O deductible reimbursement. As you probably have seen over the past few years, there's been a pretty big increase in E&O claims. And this particular benefit reimburses you up to 20% of your E&O deductible, up to $500 per year. It's a pretty big benefit because it happens unexpectedly and more often than you think. We also offer discounts and special offers from nationally recognized vendors like the offer our members will receive today from EverQuote. If you're not a NAPAA member, I hope you'll decide to support us with your membership today and take advantage of the EverQuote offer. You can learn more about membership by calling 877-627-2248 or visit us at napausa.org. Okay, before we begin, you should know that your line has been muted, and if you have questions, please use the chat feature on your screen, and we'll try to respond to you before we conclude the webinar. We are delighted to have Mr. Ganis with us today. He is the SVP of Marketing at EverQuote, the leading online auto insurance marketplace in the U.S. Stuart started his insurance career as a producer in 1989, and he co-founded an independent agency specializing in personal lines that grew to $20 million in premium within 5 years. So he knows what he's talking about. Today, Stuart frequently speaks at industry events and has been featured in several publications, including Agent and Broker, Property Casualty 360, and Insurance Journal. So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce Stuart Ganis from EverQuote.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. I'm real excited to be here today. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is, how the consumer has changed over the past, 10, 15, 20 years. I remember when I started in the business, we manually rated my first day on the job. My manager handed me a credit card and said, go buy a catalog rack and a headset. And, you had your catalog rack, you put your rating manuals in it, you had your merit manual that was updated quarterly for symbols and territories. And someone would call in for insurance, and we would actually tell them to go to the DMV, get their MVR and a copy of registration if they didn't have one, and come to the office. And every sale was done face-to-face, from cradle to grave. And sometimes they would sit there for 2 to 3 hours, and, while you fumbled through trying to manually rate an application. So that was in the days that we drove down Main Street and we went to our travel agent, our insurance agent, and other local businesses in our area. But now the consumer drives down Google Street. And Google Street is busy, expensive, confusing. There's people popping up all the time telling you you should go here or go there. They're trying to commoditize our industry in terms of auto insurance and tell people that it's all about price, 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 price. And one thing I admire greatly about captive agents is that you guys have one carrier to sell where other agents might have 10 carriers to sell. So selling on price isn't necessarily an option for you. I'm sure it's great when you have the lowest price, but we really need to start having the mindset of we have to be very competitive, not necessarily the cheapest. But the consumer driving down Google Street is completely different because they demand speed. They're not going to go to the DMV and pick up their MVR and registration and drive to your office. They want to do this by email, by phone, some even by text. Thanks to the mobile phone, everything is urgent nowadays. And I always use the example of I'm kind of a sports fanatic, and I'll check a score on my phone, and then 3 seconds later decide I need to check that score again, even though it's halftime. And, and if that browser doesn't open within 3-4 seconds, I'm ready to throw the phone out the window and get a new one. That's what we've all become. And that's what consumers have become, and that's what you're going up against every single day when you quote a prospect. And it's not only a prospect that comes from an online lead from an EverQuote or someone who might be referred to you through social media or someone that walks in your office or referred to you otherwise, because those people are also on Google Street. So just because someone's referred to you, they're still the online consumer. They've done something online. They know they can do their banking online. They know that they can do a lot of things online. People are in stores looking at prices before they make a purchase and walk out of the store. So it's everybody. It's not only the online lead. So some of these core principles we're going to talk about today apply to your everyday business, not necessarily only online leads. So let's jump in here and talk about the first core principle, which is speed. And I'm sure you've heard dozens of studies about how important it is to contact a prospect that contacts you through digital means. So whether you buy an online lead and it's emailed to you, if you buy an online lead and it posts to a lead management solution, if someone messages you through Facebook or LinkedIn, speed is the #1 driver of conversion. So the quicker you can contact that prospect and start talking to them about their insurance needs, the better chance you have of converting that prospect. And there's dozens of studies. One that stands out is, Velocify is a lead management solution, and their data shows you have a 400% greater chance of converting a prospect if you contact them within a minute. And it just continues to dip and dip and dip and dip as you get into 10 minutes, an hour, a day, whatever it is. So number one is speed, but it's not only speed to contact. So if I call your office for a quote today, and I'm put on hold, and I'm transferred to somebody, and someone is fumbling, and all I hear is typing while they're trying to give me a quote, as a consumer that's used to the speed of the mobile phone, I'm going to get a little frustrated. And even if your rate is competitive, if we make it that far, you know, I might choose to go elsewhere because I feel like the experience is always going to be slow. So it's not only speed to contact, it's speed in quoting. And then when you give the quote, if the person says, yes, I want to buy it, how fast can you complete that application? So what, you know, how are your people trained to utilize the systems? Is the person giving the quote the best person to actually complete the application? So these are all things that you have to take into consideration when you're working with a modern consumer. And when someone is calling into the agency, so let's assume you do buy online leads or someone is referred to you, you call them and leave a message, they call your agency back. Is there a process in place in the agency when that person calls back for them to get on the phone with someone who can deliver a quote, deliver it effectively, and close that piece of business as quickly as possible? Because sometimes, I don't know if you ever secret shop your competition, but you could call 10 insurance agencies, and it's a struggle sometimes to get a quote. So don't be one of those agencies. Focus on speed, okay? Now, if we dip into the consumer who's shopping online, which some of you may buy online leads, maybe some of you haven't, maybe some of you have and the experience was miserable, which I hear a lot of, you know, you're leaving voicemails. And when you leave a voicemail on an online lead, the thing we recommend is to ask for specific information pertaining to that lead. So what you don't want to do is call a prospect and say, hi, how you doing? My name is Stuart, calling with Allstate Insurance. You requested a quote online. We have the best rates in the state. Our office hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. My phone number is this. We'd love to help you. They're probably not going to call you back. What we recommend is if you are buying an online lead or it comes through your website or you have some information on that prospect, is to ask something specific about that prospect. For example, hi, how you doing, John? My name is Stuart with Allstate Insurance. I received the quote for your 2010 Honda Accord. I just need to confirm if it's an LX, DX, or EX. If you could give me a call back, I can give you some numbers over the phone. I have all your information. Also want to make sure I have all the discounts in here before I send out your quote. Here's my phone number. Goodbye. Now that prospect knows that you have their information. Sometimes they feel like they're going to have to start from scratch and give you all the information they've already entered online. And if they feel that way, they're not going to call you back or they're not going to want to stay on the phone with you. So we've learned that that specific voicemail is most helpful. Second thing that I hear a lot of is when an agent calls a prospect, they might hear, you know, Stuart, I'm kind of busy right now, or hey, can we do this later, or it's a bad time. Whatever the case may be, overcoming that initial objection will help you increase your conversion dramatically. For example, hi, how you doing? You call a prospect. Yeah, you know what, I'm kind of busy right now. Can we do this later? You know, I just need to know, and you could ask that question about the car again, or verify a birth date. And that's the first thing out of your mouth after hello. Okay, hi, John, how you doing? My name is Stuart with Allstate Insurance. I received your quote online. Listen, I just need to confirm, is your birth date 5/1 of 70? And zip it and get them to say, yes, it is. Okay, and is your car the 2010 Honda Accord LX? Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. Then you could start to build rapport and treat them like any other quote and ask for the business and counsel them on coverage and do what you need to do as an agent. But avoid the, hi, this is Stuart with Allstate. Do you have a few minutes to do a quote? I guarantee you 8 out of 10 times the person's going to say no. So avoid that yes-no question. Ask a rating question pertaining to that specific prospect, and you will see your quote rates just go through the roof. Okay, so overcome that initial objection. Already bought, no time. Let's do this later, whatever the case may be. Just ask 2 or 3